So what do you want to talk about? I mean,
Oh
what?
man.
Okay, here
Yeah, what do
is
you want to talk about?
no, because one, you have had a fascinating career. You run around some of the most influential circles in the state of Tennessee.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm at the prayer breakfast you did,
Oh yeah.
and we're sitting there, a bunch of us,
Mhm.
and somebody said, "How did you get invited?" I don't know. Palmer called, and I'm here. You know? so,
We're
so
glad you're here.
so it's like, and everybody, yeah, me too, man. I got the same message. So this ability you have to convene to get people's attention. You
Hmm.
started a school,
Yeah.
and see one of the drivers here is that we believe the first Reformation gave the Bible back to the people.
Mm.
The second Reformation that we're in now is giving ministry back to the people.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so church
I like that.
members, Christ followers are seeing community problems and then stepping in to solve them.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
being the church.
just being the church.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
you have done that one, two, three.
Mm.
How many different times
Oh.
with that?
Mm.
So I would love to get for 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 you and me to talk about what does it mean for you
Yeah.
to be sitting somewhere and go, that's a problem.
Mhm.
Why doesn't somebody do that, something about that, and then realize, well, if I make a few phone calls, if I get this meeting together, we can at least move the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, with the adoption issue that is important to both of us.
I just
And
came from Show Hope.
oh, did you?
Yeah, I had
Cool.
a meeting there.
Uh,
Yep, for the last 3 hours.
so we had the incidents where the children were sleeping in the DCS offices
Yeah.
and no homes and this kind of thing. And the problem is not as easy as you think. I mean,
Mhm.
because everybody has this adoption picture of this little Norman Rockwell child, blonde haired and blue eyed and all that. And some of these kids are hurting and
Yeah.
angry and bitter and wounded and will burn your house down if you bring them home. I mean, I'm not exaggerating
It's
with
like
that.
trench work.
Yeah.
That's what Joe and I always call
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You're in the trenches.
It-
You're
it-
in the hard,
yeah,
not
the hard
glamorous.
work.
Yeah.
But we were able to convene a meeting with the governor and Margie at DCS.
Love Margie.
I do too.
So
uh,
she is my aunt's best friend. So my
Oh, really?
aunt was the highest ranking female TBI officer in the state of Tennessee. And Margie, she trained Margie.
Oh
So I've
God.
known Margie forever.
Yeah,
From Aunt
yeah.
Jury, knocking down doors
Yeah,
stories.
yeah. We left that meeting and one of my pastor friends said, "I think I intimidated Margie." And I looked at him. I said, "You do know she's armed."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
I would like to meet the
yeah,
person
yeah.
that
I
intimidates
don't
Margie.
think when she gets up and does her threat radar, I don't think you came up on there, bud. So, yeah. So,
No.
so
That's amazing.
such
Yeah.
as egos. Now,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I'd love to talk about
you
all
have
that.
been a Christ follower all your life.
Yeah. Yes, I have been. It's interesting. I feel like I don't have a glamorous conversion story, but the story of Christ following me through pits has been
No,
a
but
theme
you
in
got
my
you
life.
got you got as the old preachers would say, you got a strong testimony.
Yeah.
The
The
car
Lord's been
accident,
faithful. Mm-hmm.
having to adjust your life that it's going to be very, very different than you thought it would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm happy to share any of my testimony and to talk about kind of how that's shaped why my life has looked the way it has.
yeah.
Just the gratitude that I have for
So
even
how
that.
old were you when the accident happened?
Yeah, so I was 8 years old. It was actually, my family's from Nashville. We were
Mhm.
living outside of Nashville at the time. But we were here visiting grandparents on spring break, and it was a freak. My mom sneezed, our car went off the road, and we hit a bridge. It was no one's fault. It was just happened.
Yeah.
But I was instantly paralyzed. So I've had a spinal cord injury since I was 8.
Were you in the back seat?
I was, yeah. And, good old 90s car, just lap belt
Yeah.
and no booster. And I was a
Yeah.
tiny little thing. And, yeah. And so I think since that time, I always say my family has always stood with Jesus. but it was that kind of made us start walking with him.
Ah.
And I can see like a marked difference of, I always went to church, Sunday school every
Mm-hmm.
Sunday. My dad's a professional golfer, and so Sunday was really interesting for us because he had to work on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom would take us to church, and he would do church later.
So that's where your son gets it from, huh?
Mhm.
It's a genetic thing, huh?
It's genetic.
See, that's when I needed a grandfather who was a professional golfer, and my game would be better.
Oh man, well, he is my dad made over in the same intensity, and I probably carry a little bit. Before I was injured, I was a competitive gymnast and had that similar intensity and focus. So it's really fun to watch him.
So what happens when you're 8 and you realize you're going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life?
You know, I think I borrowed my parents' faith. And what I mean by that is I saw them take to their knees, and I never once saw them ask, why us? Why me? But just instantly, I had a mama who, she was, all right, hard things happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's life. We're going to continue on. The Lord's called you to things. And I distinctly remember when I got home from the hospital, after being in the hospital for, 6 to 9 months.
Right.
I got home, and there was a list of chores on my bed. The same list I'd always had. My mom was very into chores. And every Saturday morning, she put a list of chores. And I got home, and there's a list of chores on my bed, and she's gone.
Off you went, huh?
And you know, they were hard. I had to figure out this new body and how to do these things.
Yeah.
But I think, and what I found out later, many years later, 20 years later, was my mom was upstairs crying, saying, how is my daughter
watching
going
you
to
do that, huh?
do this?
Oh, gosh.
But to me, it was an instant, okay, you still have responsibilities in this family. We're going to figure out a different way to do it.
Yeah.
So there was never a moment.
Imposed a new normal on you.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a gift.
And never a moment of, God. And I really do think it was divine, because I think our spirit, anytime hard things like that happen, are inclined to say, why?
Right.
You know, anger, all of those emotions, and that is understandable. But I think they instilled in this, we're not promised these things, but we are promised his presence and his goodness, and we're going to look for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, my parents modeled what it looked like to trust God in the really hard. And so there was never a sense of, why me, or this is too hard, or,
Wow.
you know. But I don't think that was me. I think it was, you know, the Holy Spirit and
Yeah,
my parents'
sure,
really strong
sure.
faith.
So you end up going to law school.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where'd you go to law school?
Yeah, I went to Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, but before law school, and this is kind of integral to my journey, I was at Vanderbilt undergrad, and I had a scholarship that was community service based,
Mm-hmm.
and it allowed you to create a service project anywhere in the world and go and implement that during the summer. So 2 summers of college I got to spend in rural Africa working with kiddos with HIV. I was so naive. I literally Googled Christian orphanages in Africa because I had never been before and thought it would be an adventure. And the Lord always kind of meets our naivete with his grace and kindness, you know? And he did that for me. And so just kind of fell in love with the culture and the community. And
Where at?
I was in rural South Africa and Mozambique,
Mm-hmm.
and was working with local, didn't go through an agency or a missions group, just was working with local Christian.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How did that work with you in a wheelchair?
Yeah, so, well, that's a really good question, and I'm sure they were asking that question too when I showed up. So,
Lord, send us somebody. Don't send us somebody in a wheelchair.
Don't actually send us. It was interesting. So the first time I went with 3 other friends, 2 guys from the program, and then my best friend Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was great because we had 2 strong boys that if I
Right.
got stuck in the mud,
Mhm.
they could pick my
Yeah.
chair up and carry me. And so I knew I wasn't worried at that point. I'm like, I've got strong friends, and I'd traveled a lot with my family, so I knew I could do it. But then, so when I woke up one morning, my senior year of college, and at Vanderbilt, everyone's very type A. You have your life plan, you execute your life plan, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was planning to go straight to law school. And I woke up one morning in April and then had a dream and felt very clear that the Lord was calling me back to Africa. Like, just, I don't think I've had a dream like that since. Like, I knew he was calling me back. And so I scrapped my plans and went back to Africa by myself. And that time I did not tell them I was in a wheelchair. There's a lot of, one, I knew I could do it because everything's one story in the
Right,
rural areas. I'm
right.
like, I'm not going to encounter steps. I may encounter some sand, some
Yeah.
snakes, but I knew I could do it. But I also know there's a stigma because they don't have the infrastructure to care for people with disabilities. It is a very strange thing.
Yeah.
Just from lack of exposure.
Right.
And so yeah, I just rolled rolled up. They were probably a little confused by me. But you know, like I went to serve. Everyone in our orphanage had HIV, and I went to serve this community. And as the Lord always does in his upside down kingdom, flipping things on their head, the way that those kiddos served me every day. We had a really sandy village that we lived in. And so I was a teacher, which also knowing me is hilarious because that's not my gifting, but it's what they needed. So I taught. And getting to our hut every morning, or from my hut to the school, was really sandy and really hard. I don't know if you've ever tried to roll like a cooler wheels over sand.
You can do that at the beach. I can't
Doesn't
get
work
anything
well.
out there, right? Yeah.
But every morning this group of kiddos would come and meet me and push me and sing the whole way, just so joyful. And they had lost literally everything.
Right.
They all
Most
have
of the
HIV.
time, from our work in Living Hope in South Africa,
Yeah.
you know, the parents have died,
Yeah.
extended families died. These kids are orphaned to the second and third degree,
Yeah. No family.
and now HIV positive.
Yeah. So our connection with adoption, I now have a brother from that village. That
Cool.
Yeah, which is amazing. So I was 21 and single and about to go. I went back to law school when I got home, but I met this little boy who was real sick and needed a family and was just, I don't know, a joy. So I introduced him to my parents, who were 60 at the time, and said, I realize you think you're done, but I don't think the Lord thinks
That's right.
you're
That's
done.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so
Let's
you
put a
should
mirror in
pray
front of your
about
nose. Well, it
this.
fogs up. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So now my brother's a junior in college and has been home for 15 years at this point. So the Lord knew what he was doing when he called me back. I think he knew what my heart needed, and also that there was a little boy who needed a sister, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But this awakens in you this ministry awareness.
Yeah, I think as someone who has often been seen as the source of charity. So when you roll around in a wheelchair, your brokenness is on display, right? Everyone knows what you're struggling with. Now they don't know all.
Right.
Hot mess, all the struggle, but they know, okay, this person needs help. And so from a young age, I knew what that was, and I also knew what it was to receive help. And so I think I'm grateful for my accident. I don't think God caused it. I don't think he causes bad things, but he uses it for his glory anytime we let him. And so I'm grateful for what he has, the posture that he's allowed me to have.
What you've learned, right.
Because I'm a prideful little thing. And so I think he knew, I have a daily physical reminder of my dependence on him. And that is I need that so much. And so to be able to then go through my life.
Jacob's limp, huh?
Yeah. And the thorn in Paul's side and those sort of things. I think there can be beauty from that, even though there's hard days. But I think that gave me a perspective on and an empathy for kind of the world around me and maybe those hidden needs. So I had kind of had that, but then going to Africa and seeing the joy and the church at work. I was there really to support the work of the church that was already happening there. And it was such a neat experience to see, gosh, the global church is active and doing and probably healthier than we are sometimes over here. And so that really birthed in me, I think, a passion to whatever I was doing, to have it have some sort of ministry impact. Yeah, then came back and started my career, I guess.
Okay, but we got the community thing, then we got the law degree, which you didn't go into private practice.
Yeah, so I studied international law at Vanderbilt, thinking I would be an international adoption attorney. with my brother coming home, and my eyes opened to kind of the orphan
dilemma
crisis.
of what that happened.
Yeah, and
means.
and also seeing firsthand when a kiddo is given a family and given belonging, how radically it can change their life. So that was my intent.
Yeah, that changes anybody's life. Not
No, yeah, absolutely. And it's such a fun thing to be a part of, getting to redeem that part of our broken world. And so I met my husband in I met him in undergrad, but we started dating in law school. And really to do the work I wanted to do.
And Joseph is a whole nother video. We just don't have time to get into anything at this point. So.
He's a sweet, fun boy, and
you're the only one in the world who describes Joseph Williams as a sweet, fun boy.
That's really true. It's because he's met his match, you know. But yeah, so we started dating, and I knew that
he's the chief of staff for the governor, for those of you who may not know.
He is.
And he is known for being extraordinarily well connected and being a bulldog when it comes to the agenda that he's trying to get. So the idea that you would call him a sweet boy is just...
Yes, a pit bull for Jesus, maybe. Yeah, there we go.
Look, I'll be unsettled with that all day.
Good. I love it. Yeah. Well, so I basically had to put him through law school.
Yeah.
He taught inner city high school here in Nashville for a couple of years. So he was a couple of years behind me in law school. So when we got out of school and had just got married, the jobs that I really wanted were in D.C. or Geneva or New York. And he was here, and I liked him, and so I didn't want to leave him. And so I started working for the Department of Children's Services here in Nashville for a little season as an attorney. Hardest work I've ever done. I mean, working with kids from hard places with the hardest stories. Cried every day because the stories were hard and all the things, but also some of the best work that I've ever gotten to be a part of. And then from there, I mean, my resume, I love new projects, and my resume reflects that. My career is all over the place of trying new things, and with a common thread of where the vulnerable and the overlooked amongst us.
Especially children.
Especially kiddos, especially kiddos, and where those places that they need to be fought for, they need to be protected, they need to be educated and brought up. And so there's been a common thread throughout my career, but it's been all over the place since then.
So when I first met Joseph, and then LP King's school was just getting underway.
Yeah.
With that, so you're sitting in church, you're sitting at home, and you go, "Let's start a school."
Yeah. So kind of.
Yes.
So I was practicing law, mainly federal law in D.C., constitutional law, and then also international human rights. So persecuted religious minorities. If you were a pastor imprisoned for your faith, I was your girl. Couldn't really help you with anything else, like wills or anything normal. But we had 3 boys. We have 3 boys, and they were starting school. And Joseph had been involved in the education reform movement for many years, but I hadn't. I mean, I went to school for a long time, but that's the extent of my knowledge when it came to education. But we had sent our oldest to Convene, which is a Christian school here in town, and loved it. Sweetest place. And I remember so distinctly sitting in chapel one day and just saying a prayer to Thanksgiving to the Lord. Like, I just looked around, and all of my friends were there, and we all kind of had a similar view of how we wanted to raise up our kids to know and love the Lord. And I just said, thank you, Lord. Like, this is safe, and like, I can do this for the next 6 years. And I distinctly heard his voice to say, but what about everybody else? What about the other mamas that want something different for their kiddos, or who are in a failing school and living in the projects, and they don't have choice? Yeah,
all the kids you dealt with at DCS are now going to school. So where did they go?
Where did they go? And I had never stopped to think about what it would be like to not get to ask what's best for my kid. So we always had, I mean, Joe and I are so nerdy. Every date night is some policy discussion or some Supreme Court case, or, what is our educational philosophy for our kiddos? Since before we even had them, we were asking those questions. But what would it be like to be a mom who couldn't ask that question of, hey, really see my kid isn't thriving here. What are my options?
Right.
I don't have any options. And I really believe in the power, the transformative power of Christian education. I just do. Teaching kids what's true and good and beautiful. And so sitting in that sweet school, the Lord kind of pressed upon me, let's think about something new. Like, how do we create more opportunity for more kids to experience this type of education? Right. And I like to start things. I like to do the hard thing. And so we started looking at models around the country of who else has done this. How can we create a socioeconomically diverse school model that's sustainable? If it's all scholarship, it's going to be really hard to raise those scholarships every year, right? And also, we're not getting that diversity of the body of believers from all different resources and walks of life. So we've created a school model where 40% of our kiddos come from houses below the poverty line, 30% are working class families, and 30% are full pay families. So you have, everyone's paying something, but it's based on their income. And then we get to link arms and do life together. I think one of the things I've noticed about Nashville in particular, especially seeing the global church at work and coming back to Nashville, we have a church on every corner.
We have a church building on every corner.
Yes.
May we not have a church on every corner?
Great point. Yes, exactly. We have so many buildings. And that's part of what we did with our school model is we found a church that had too much building. Yeah. We said, hey, let's fill it during...
and it's on, even the most active church is open a couple of hours a week.
Right. And you have this space. Yeah. You're like, the Lord's given us this space. Let's fill it with goodness. But I think it can be really difficult for us to do life together when we're just coming together on Sunday mornings or Wednesday nights. And even if we add in small groups, which I don't know if you experience this, but as my kids get older, small group gets harder and harder to get to every week. Sure. Because we're doing all the other things. But when you come together in a school and you're doing life together, I've been able to see the big church be the church. So we have single mama, car breaks down, doesn't know how she's going to get to her job at MAPCO, doesn't know how she's going to get her baby to school. We have another family with resources to either help her, get the mechanic there or provide a vehicle or whatever it might be. We've had kiddos who have gone into the foster care system and would have been lost to us forever. And our school came around and furnished an apartment, found someone within the foster system who could care for them and said, we will be their family. Will you just let them stay with us? Right. And the court said yes. So we've gotten to see families and sibling groups stay together. So it's just an honor to get to be part of a community and get to help steward this group of families that say we want to raise our kids together, even though we look differently, our bank accounts look different, but we believe that the Lord has called us to this.
But see, you're kind of the poster child of what I want to see happening more and more. And in that, most church members are bored.
Yeah.
Okay, they do hard stuff all week, and we tell them, come sit.
Yeah.
To be a successful church member, you come a lot and you sit a lot. But that bores them to death.
Yeah.
Now, if more of our folks are sitting in church and have the moment that you had, like, hey, this is wonderful, isn't it? Wouldn't it be more wonderful if more mothers had the same option?
Yeah.
If more parents in Nashville had the same option, and you can make that happen. Now, you don't have anything with you right then that says Palmer can make a school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably the opposite.
You see what I'm saying? There's nothing on your pew.
Yeah.
You're not a trained educator. You haven't had years of experience. What you have is the knowledge of hurting children from your work with DCS, and the knowledge of what it feels like to be safe in school.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all you have.
Yep.
Those two things end up with King's Academy.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting? I think Joe and I have talked a lot about this because my husband grew up in Memphis and I grew up here in Nashville. And in Memphis, what I have seen, and it's not perfect, but the way that the city is laid out, you can't avoid the problems of Memphis.
Right.
Right? You have wealthy neighborhood next to the projects next to a wealth. I mean, it's just the city is laid out in a way where you can't avoid the issue, the racial issues. You can't avoid the poverty,
the housing issue,
crime, any of it.
Right.
You're in it together. And so I've seen the church be a lot more intentional and active because they know each other and they know the issues.
Right.
In Nashville, one thing that I've found, and I think it goes back, my grandparents, great grandparents, all born and raised here. My grandfather would say it goes back to when they put the interstates in, and they really segregated the way that neighborhoods were laid out.
They sure did. And one of the interesting things about Black history in Nashville is what happened to Jefferson Street.
Yes.
When which was the Black West End.
Oh yeah.
And what happened to those neighborhoods, and all the businesses, and we talk about country music all the time, but there was a row of what they used to call the Chitlin Circuit over in that area where some of the B.B. King, Albert, all these folks came and played, and some of America's music was born
right there.
Right there.
Yeah, I think in Nashville, you can live in, Green Hills, Brentwood, Oak Hill, West End. Even.
Well, the other thing was the way the city developed.
Yeah.
The managers, the mill owner and the mill worker never go to the same church.
Yes.
Okay, never live in the same neighborhood. The mill owner, to use that term, lived in Green Hills.
Yep.
The mill worker lived in East Nashville, on the other side of the river.
Yep.
So there was this real, and it had that river in between them.
Yeah, you had the river, and then you bring in the interstate.
That's right, yeah.
And so I think I've noticed that there's a willingness and there's a hunger to do something, to be more than pew sitters, right? But we don't have the same level of proximity to our neighbors where we have the resources they might need and vice versa to actually make that actionable. And to your point, I think part of why we started Kings and were able to do that is because we had a little bit more proximity from his teaching in the inner city and just some of the ministry work we had been involved with to say, okay, we know we can go to those communities and say.
And the church at Tusculum Hills.
Yeah, who had been doing it forever.
Yeah, and was available.
Yeah, and they were so hospitable to us and still are.
Right.
So I think one of the things that we have to do as the Church of Nashville is get out of our pews and get uncomfortable and begin to serve people that don't look like us, that don't believe like we do, that make us feel uncomfortable. One, because I think that's where Jesus would be. Actually, we know, right? We know in Scripture it's like pretty clear.
Yeah.
Who was he hanging out with? It's the people that the typical churchgoer in Nashville would not be having supper with. Because when we do, all of a sudden our eyes are open to where our resources can be used. Because I think there's a desire there for those who are following Jesus to use their resources for good.
Right.
It's just we're going to miss the mark if we don't have the proximity to the issue. So, for example,
the folks at Covenant College in Chattanooga who do all the work with poverty.
So good.
Talk about that poverty is the lack of access. That's what poverty really is.
Yeah.
That when I'm in trouble, I know who to call. I know who to get to.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's what's been beautiful about our community at Kings. It's like all of a sudden, we have 250 kids this year. I'm bad at math. So let's say 100 and something of them didn't have those connections before. And now all of a sudden they're in a community.
Now they do.
And so not only are we getting to raise up a generation of leaders who love and know the Lord, but we're also able to take the pressure off of the welfare state, right?
Right.
Because kiddo's not going into foster care. Mama's coming off of
kiddo's not
stamps.
going into prison.
Kiddo's not going into prison. They know how to read, right? We know the literacy, third grade literacy rates are how we project prison beds in the state. Our kids know how to read. Yeah. We have our first graders right now are in the 4th percentile in the country for achievement because we got them in pre-K. We resource them quickly. We have a lot of multi-language learners at our school, so a lot of first-generation English speakers. So we get them early, we teach them English, We
Yeah.
provide resources at home, and then all of a sudden they're caught up.
Well, they're caught up, but being able to speak English opens up all
All
kind
the
of other doors
Yeah.
for jobs and other schools and
And
that
what
kind of
it
stuff.
does for my kids, like what I am so passionate about for my kiddos, is they now they're never gonna know, by the Lord's grace, never gonna know what it is to not have a meal on the table,
Right.
to not be able to get new shoes,
Hmm.
to not be able to play the sport they want. But their best friends sure as heck are, right? And now they see that through the eyes of their best friends,
Hmm.
and their hearts are changed in ways that
Yeah, they
I
got a
couldn't
second
teach.
thought, right?
Yeah,
Second
just
thought.
a softening of their hearts. And so I'm thankful they get the proximity thing because they're
Mhm.
living it, right? Like
Yeah.
they and now we just got to figure out how to open those doors up for the church because there's so much
Okay,
need.
Palmer, I want to put you in front of all the churches in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
Couple of thousand people, good folks, love Jesus, want to do something. Maybe even at the point where you were, okay, I have a desire and I know the target
Mhm.
and I know the people group I want to reach. I know the problem I want to address. Coach me up. What do I do?
Yeah, I think first you've got to go to the communities you want to serve, and this would come straight from the Covenant College When Helping Hurts research, right?
Right?
Go to the people group and make sure that it is something they need and want,
That's right.
right?
Don't be a Baptist at the door with a casserole.
No. And thankfully, before we started Kings, of course, the Lord sets everything up. My husband and his job was getting to go and meet with those communities and like knew the leaders, knew the
Mhm.
issues, had built up a reputation for being willing to have any conversation
Right.
and talk about the hard things and
Mhm.
learn about what was happening. And so it wasn't going in with I know I know what you need, but really an understanding of what the community said they
Mhm.
needed.
Well, it is a different approach when you come in and say, "I know what you need," or when you come in and say, "I heard you say."
Very different.
Very different posture.
And a different posture because this work is really hard and the
Mhm.
enemy doesn't want it to happen,
Yeah.
right?
All right. So
Yeah.
so do the research.
Do the research.
Go do the hard walking around in the trenches. Find out really what because a lot of times what the problem is not how it manifests itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really understand that area. Partner with local churches, and we have not done a lick of advertising for our seats, and we have wait lists
Right.
out the door.
Right.
But we have talked to local churches and said, hey, we exist, and that's how we got. In our first year, we opened in the middle of COVID.
Oh yeah, I remember all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and we opened our doors with 94 students without a place to go because we had lost our building. And but there were so many families that were hungry, and we literally just went to local church pastors that we knew in the Hispanic community, in the Black community, in the Burmese community, which is an area real close to our school.
Yeah, people don't know that there's 90 languages spoken in the Middle Tennessee area.
Yeah,
A little over 90
it's
languages.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's so great. We have like a nation's potluck we have a worship night twice a year, and all of our families do a dish from their nation, and it is amazing.
Oh.
So cool. And really, I mean, if we go back to the beginning of Kings, there was a group of Burmese families. So if you know much about the Burmese crisis coming from Myanmar, these families are religious refugees. All the ones that we were working with were all Christians who their families had been slaughtered in Myanmar.
Right.
The UN had placed them in America, and they were in a failing school district. They had not a penny to their name. And this group of moms started a Bible study and were praying every day for a new school for their kids. Some of the strongest believers I've ever met.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, I heard that story, and it was after they had started praying 2 years later. We opened the doors a year later. Of course, it's all their prayers. That's what what it was about. But this faithful group of women said, we don't even what a bold prayer to pray when you have not a penny to your name and you're in a country where you don't speak the language, right? I'm like, Lord, we're
but that's
asking for
something a
this.
mama does.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's the prayer. Okay, Lord, we're talking about my kid here.
Yeah. So just knowing those
Yeah.
churches, and that's how, because of the ministry at Tusculum Hills Baptist, they had been in been serving the Burmese population there. And so when we linked arms with that church as a school, they said, "Hey, we got tons of Burmese families that have been desperate for this." And so I think the local church can be such the perfect place to start.
Yeah,
They know the
conduit,
communities.
right.
And then I think know what your role is. I'm not an educator. I'm a gatherer of people.
Yeah, you're a convener.
Yeah, and I love bringing all of the smartest people I know around a table and saying, "Y'all get to work and let me know how I can help, and I can raise some funds and I can do that sort of thing." Because there's a lot of funds to be raised for this type of work, but know what your strengths are and lean into those, and then know that the beautiful body of Christ is going to fill in the rest
Be
of
humble
it.
enough to ask for help,
Oh yeah,
because most of the time those folks are ready to do it. So,
yeah.
well, Palmer, you are an inspiration. One of my favorite people in the whole world.
Oh.
You really are. She is Palmer Williams. She is a local attorney, founder of King's Academy. Oh, God, I don't have time to list her resume, but she's a fabulous person. And I'm Mike Glenn, Engaged Church Network. This is our podcast, and we're grateful that you have been with us.